morning. And we're getting to an early start today. Now, it's interesting that today I'm actually going to be talking about light. Now, the reason why I'm talking about light is, of course, it illuminates everything around us. Now, I happen to live in a province where we have big sky. Like Montana, for example, is known as the big sky country. Well, the province of Alberta is actually substantially larger than Montana. And we have spectacular sunsets and spectacular sunrises. Like yesterday morning, as I was traveling in from where I was to head into the city of St. Albert, it was that time of the morning where the sun was starting to come up. And in Alberta, we have these spectacular sunrises with multi different colors coming up over the horizon. Well, it was absolutely wonderful to see the sunrise, but also as well look to the west and see the illumination of the city. So it was really kind of a very cool morning to be able to see that. And of course, in the province of Alberta, our days get longer as we approach, of course, summer equinox. In just a few weeks, for example, we're going to find ourselves heading into springtime. And of course, the days get longer and the sunsets and the sunrises get more spectacular, or maybe it's because of the fact that we are able to see them because they, of course, come earlier than normal if you're an early riser such as myself. Now, the interesting thing about light, it is the very vehicle in which color is amplified. For example, if you look at a flower, let's say later on in the day, it's not as spectacular as it is during the middle of the day. Did you also notice that it's the same with the leaves on the trees? There's a certain difference in the pigment, or at least the illumination of the pigment, as you get closer to the end of the day, or earlier in the morning. It's because light is the very thing that brings out color. And one of the scriptures that we have is, men love darkness rather than light because light makes it visible. And so here is Paul in Ephesians chapter 5 saying, listen, everything that is exposed to the light becomes visible, for everything that is illuminated becomes a light itself. Basically, what he's saying is that we become a reflection of what we allow to be illuminated in our lives. For example, if you have a propensity towards anger, guess what's going to be illuminated in your life? Anger. If you have a propensity, let's say, towards positivity, that is going to be illuminated in your life. It's whatever you allow in your life will be exhibited, illuminated, and visible by you doing it through your actions. So it is very, very important to make sure. Now, I saw a sign years ago on the back of a church wall that said, every attitude is everything. Well, I magnified it when I had a fairly large church, and I decided to put some banners on the wall. And one of my banners went like this: attitude is everything in the things of God. Now, years ago, no, actually not that many years ago, we had a wonderful leader in our church in St. Albert. His name was Tyson. And Tyson said basically this: attitude is everything. And he exhibited, because he was a very positive individual, and he had a dramatic effect on the community in which we lived. He was, for example, the leader of the Block Party more organization and Neighborhood Watch. For several years, he happened to be the chairman of the food bank in our community. He had a positive effect. And he realized earlier in his life that he said, Lord, I know that I'm supposed to illuminate all the qualities that should be amplified and exhibited, and I want to do that. And he was, of course, a very wonderful individual. In fact, when I had the privilege of doing his funeral, there were many, many community leaders that were there, and they told me afterwards, they said, we really appreciated. We didn't always agree on his stand concerning Christianity, but we did believe in him and what he brought to the table, what he illuminated in his life, and he was a real light in those organizations. So I thought to myself, wow, that is such a wonderful testimony. So my exhortation for you today is allow a light, a real illumination to come out of your life today. Jesus said, you are the light of the world. And he says, listen, don't allow your light to be, of course, put under a bushel, or don't allow it to be hid. But he says, allow it to be illuminated. I love what Barry Maguire used to say when he was talking about this particular situation. He was, of course, bringing forth the scientific part of the fact that the moon was a reflection. It doesn't have any particular illumination in itself. And so he said, I want to be a full moon for the Lord. I thought to myself, well, that has a lot of different connotations. But what he was basically saying is, I want to reflect that which is positive. I want to reflect that which is wholesome and good and godly. That's what I want to illuminate. That's what I want to bring to the table. We used to sing a song years ago called This Little Light of Mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Now don't let my butchering of that particular song, put you off on the message, which is wherever you are, in whatever situation, whatever community you are involved in, let your light shine. The world needs to see that. They have seen enough negativity and toxicity and contamination and, urgent and crisis and anger. I mean, all these negative things that have been flying around. And it has been especially not too good in the recent days, especially in the area of economically and, politically, and different political leaders shooting each other and saying things about each other. It's not been a very positive month, has it? So let your light shine. And I always tell people, listen, when you're on social media, don't sit there and start complaining and, giving out negative things about yourself, because this is a really important issue. When you're going into a job interview, people want to know what you are really like. And if you are on social media and you are complaining about this and you're talking about that in a negative manner, well, what kind of person would they want to have in their organization? So, and they will check your social media platforms. They will check that. It is a well-known fact that when HR people want to check out the attitude, in an interview, you may sound, really positive. You bring your best to an interview. But what they want to find out is, okay, what kind of person are you on social media? So if you're out there blustering and, complaining about this, being angry about that, putting things out there against people on social media, is that the type of person that you want to hire? No, because there's enough toxicity in many workplaces without adding one more person. And we all know that all it takes is one or two people in a work environment. They can absolutely destroy the work environment. It's the same way with family. You ever have a family member where everybody walks around on, eggshells because of the fact that they have anger issues or whatever? Don't you be that person, okay? Be that light. Be that optimist. You know the difference between an optimist and a pessimist. A pessimist says, the glass is half full, or half empty. And the pessimist says, wait a minute, it's half full. we can still fill this thing up. We can still make this thing happen. This morning, for example, I was coming in from, I had forgotten to put gas in the automobile. So I had to go to a local community that had 24-hour service. The one that I was in didn't have that. And I was driving into the community and I was down to about a quarter. And I said, well, at least when I fill up my gas tank, I'll have more than half full. It's a lot of it is perspective. I understand that. But you see, there is one thing that we need to bring to the table, and that is, of course, the light. And we reflect that light. And there's a light inside of us that is given to us by the Lord. I want to use the illustration of running water, okay? We live in Alberta, and there are some lakes that have, in and out, inlet and outlet. When you have a body of water that has an inlet and an outlet, you know what? That water is fresh. But if you have a body of water that does not have any inlet or outlet, we call it a slough. And basically, it is not able to sustain life as there's not pure water, is what I'm trying to say. So let out of your life pure water come out, and let also light shine. It's a little thought for you today. My name is Robert Dean Steele. Thanks for spending time with me. Have yourself a great and godly day. And if you like what you're seeing and hearing, press the like button and subscribe to my YouTube channel.